Well, I appreciate everybody coming, all 31 of you. I do have some meeting notes here, just some things I wanted to touch on. I know there's probably a bunch of questions, but like I said, we can get to those after we kind of talk through some of these things. The first one on my notes is progression. I'm sure everyone wants to know where the progression's at. Um, the crafting change was a big part of going forward with the new progression. Um, there is still actually not that much left to do. I think we just need to say what items you get from what, make sure everything links together. We need to completely test the new big bank. And then essentially at that point, we could go live with the new progression or spend just a little bit more time changing all the standard jobs like mining and tailoring and all that stuff. But it really depends on how quick you guys want the new progression. So it's either super close or not as close, depending. Another thing I wanted to touch on was I spoke with people that were interested a few days ago about the crafting change, but I know that not everybody knows the reasoning why. I figured I'd just touch on that real quick. So when myself, Jake, Biggs, who else helped work on progression or not progression crafting? I do know it was me and Kenny. We stayed up till like 6 a.m. one time.
Yeah, I went to
On,
bed
yeah.
while you guys were finishing it because, yeah, I was dead. But
So when we started looking for like a money wash script or a black market script, and it just everything was garbage. And I believe Biggs was like, what if we just do it all through crafting? So we went through the headache of doing that. So when we initially came up with the idea behind crafting and how that would go with money wash, illegal stuff, and guns, the entire idea was based around a risk, and the risk being it would be in public. So when we got the crafting script that we use, we realized, that's not really a possibility. And we were like, we were so into it and we knew that the server was going live soon, and we were just like, okay, we'll work with what we have for now. Fast forward to a different company put out a better crafting script that allows for more detailed changes that better aligned with the vision that we had when we first created that system. So that's why we did the change. Yeah, I understand it seemed abrupt. People were used to being able to money wash and being able to make their guns in the comfort of their compounds, but that's not the way we intended the system to be. So now it is. We like the idea that specific blueprints can be transferred because people can obtain them now through whoever has them, set up ambushes, whatever. The either conflict or just RP, like with Mafia and Cartel, they both have to go to the same place to do, their gun crafting. Whether they're going to be allianced or enemies, they're still RP there. So that's why we made that change.
Can I touch on another piece of that as well?
Of course.
The other big determining factor as to why we did this switch is that the company, or I can't even call it a company, but the guy or group of people that make that particular crafting mod is probably one of the worst that we've ever worked with. They have terrible customer service. They pretty much rip everybody off. They don't support their products very well. And so we wanted to get rid of anything and everything that involved that particular company
it's
because of the
actually a
way they
lot
treat
worse than you're
their
making it sound.
yeah, right.
It's
It's
bad.
even worse. It's
Like
really bad actually.
they'll ban people from their Discord when people are like, "Hey, I've had a ticket open for 2 months. Why are you not helping us?" Banned from Discord, and they'll
Yeah,
revoke their
it was
license.
bad. And so we really needed it, really wanted just as a we just wanted to get rid of anything related to them, and the crafting was part of that. And so luckily, when this new one came out, it was very close to what we had already had, and we already have some of their scripts, and they're a really good company that actually is communicative about their products, and so it
They've
was
helped us out
a
quite a bit
no-brainer.
with
Yeah.
things. So
I mean, I bet you I could open a ticket with them right now and it'll be answered and responded to before this meeting is over.
Yep.
So it's that was another driving factor, of course, because that company is just not good. Anything else you guys wanted to touch on the crafting?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it seems to be the new system seems to be working really well. I haven't had any issues that I can think of.
Alrighty.
I haven't had anybody report anything.
So we know that, some people took some time, came back and might not have reread the rules or that the rules changed, but I wanted to state that the whole hostage thing, for those of you that might have come back or are new, it's hostages are not completely required to do what you want to do. Like if you can't find a hostage, you don't have to sit there for 30-40 minutes trying to find one to go rob something. Just all we ask is be a little creative and have some RP for the people that do show up, for the cops that do show up. I have, bombs planted around or whatever it may be, So hostages aren't.
It can. Sorry. I was gonna say it can be something as basic as like, don't come in here or I'll shoot. All I want to do is just grab this cash and get out of here. It doesn't have to be over the top. We're not asking you to, spend 4 hours writing a book, but
Right.
at least come up with something basic.
Yep.
Just
So I
something
just
that
wanted to
gives you a reason.
touch on that. Let's see what's next. The garage issue. That was something that was required because of. So 5M has a new authentication system for purchase scripts, and that meant that a lot of scripts were either updated or changed, and we also had to change the artifact version of the server. That caused some problems, and the garage issue is a byproduct of that, but luckily it's an easy fix. I try to get to fixing those plates, Jake as well, as quickly as I can. So that's what happened there. But that new garage system update added a bunch of cool new stuff, and I hope that the benefits outweigh the cons there. Let's see. We can get Underwood up here for this one. We can invite him to speak. How do you do that? Oh, there we go.
He's got a request it, and then you can accept.
You can also right click on his name and then request.
There we go. Underwood, what's up? Welcome.
Hello.
So this this thing I wanted to touch on is like, we changed the rule for cop pulling, being able to pull their weapons. I think we need to be just a tad bit, a little bit more specific in terms of how many. I think me and Jake, we talked about if it's like one or two, an officer can pull, but if it's more than three, was that what we agreed on?
Yeah, basically a +1 situation. If you're totally fine at +1, you start to get outnumbered like 3-1, 4-1, stuff like that, then you probably shouldn't be pulling.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, I will say if the guys are telling you they're going to kill you, then I mean, that's a last stand to me, but that's also a different situation than what we're talking about here. So
yeah,
the same thing with us. If somebody comes up from behind you and puts a gun to the back of your head, like it's really hard to justify trying to turn around and draw. So it really just depends on the situation.
You're not Jean-Claude Van Damme. You can't straight fucking kick him in the chin from behind. So.
And the reason this came to light was, we did have people come in that didn't know about the no hostage thing, and they attempted to obtain a hostage, which was a police officer, 2-1, and it just caused some confusion. So we just wanted to reiterate some things for people that might be new. But yeah, just, you don't need a hostage. So just a little bit of creative. Let's see. And then, Underwood, was there anything that you wanted to talk about in regards to PD? Anything that...
If you'll give me a few minutes, I'll try to think of some stuff that I want to talk about. But I mean, I really wasn't prepared to be. I didn't figure I'd be speaking, so.
Put you on the spot.
By the
man.
way, new microphone sounds great.
Oh, yeah, it does.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you like it?
Yeah, it's
You
way
like
better
that?
than the other one.
Oh, wow. It's nice and warm.
What about this? You like this too?
Oh, God.
No, not really.
So, and for those who might be new, Shepard has became part of staff. He's expressed interest in the dev side of things, and then rather than just bringing him in immediately to start deving, he had to start off doing tickets and then eventually get in-game report responding and stuff like that. But he has been interested in doing the development side of things, so he's our newest staff member. And then the other change was bringing in Cyclops as the community manager. So that's been a welcome addition because everyone loves Cyclops. If you don't, Jake will ban you.
What up, babies?
Sorry. And if Jake doesn't ban you, I will.
Yep, there you go.
So those are pretty much the notes that I had. Kenny, do you have the chat pulled up?
I do indeed.
I do as well.
Okay. Anything? I guess I could pull it up. Let's see. Alrighty. Oh, everyone's giving you everyone's giving you shit, Kenny. Gotta love it. So, is there anything else anyone else wants to talk about before we open things up for questions?
Is there 2 different chat channels, or am I missing something here?
Meeting chat?
Yeah, I
Should
didn't
just
see
be
anybody-
meeting chat, community meeting.
I didn't see anybody giving Kenny any shit.
Oh, they're saying, who's Biggs?
Who's Biggs?
Oh, I didn't see that. It must be up.
I don't know.
True. You do still have it. Your name is Mr. Biggs. Racket.
Dogwater.
Alrighty. So I figured if anyone else has anything to talk about, maybe Underwood or Cyclops, if there's anything you might want to say, anything anybody else wants to touch on. If not, we can move over to questioning. It's up to you guys.
The only thing that I really would have to say for, I guess, the whole server would be that I'm working really hard on trying to revamp PD. I'm trying to change a lot of things, and a lot of it's going to be internal, so it's not really for here. But even if you have recommendations or questions or anything like that, I want you to come to me, because I do want to make the whole, the city fun, the interactions with the cops and the criminals. So if there's something that you think cops could do to better the RP or better just the city in general, just please come to me and let me know, and I'll definitely speak with any of y'all about that.
Oh yeah, and on that, I know Holmes he did a bunch of work for like the FTO, correct?
Yeah, he did. He's been
Yeah, he
putting
did
a lot
like
of
that.
stuff together trying to make that program actually function.
And it's actually phenomenal. The work he's done is really, really good.
Hell yeah. So shout out to Holmes. All right. Cyclops, anything you want to say? You want to touch on, bring up any concerns or anything before we go to questioning?
Yeah, I got nothing specific right now. Obviously, my goal is to be open for you guys. If there's any concerns, anything you guys want to vent, talk about, my DMs are always open. Yeah, I mean, approaching like a community manager spot like this is my first time doing something like this. So please, like, shoot over suggestions that you have. If you want to see, community events in the city, let me know. I'll work with people and try to make it as fun as possible.
Hell yeah. All right. So, should we try out this speaking thing and do questions that way, or should we keep it to text chat?
Oh, we can try out the speaking thing. Fuck it.
Oh yeah, test out the speaking if anyone's got questions.
Yeah, so if you have a question, go ahead and request to speak. And you can be put
Or just
on
type
the
it
spot.
if you rather do that way.
Yeah, of course. All right. So it looks like Big John. The invite was sent. I think you have to accept it.
Shit. Oh damn. Hey, what's poppin'?
Go.
I had a question. I had a few questions actually. One is kind of for Underwood as far as police and detainment and free questioning of witnesses on scene. Particularly, like, what's the difference in the two? Like, for instance, there was a scenario with my country character Gabs and her brothers got into an onslaught with got dangerous at the beach, in which she was the only survivor. And I was just wondering, like, because at first it was like a bunch of misconstrued, because I was away from the scene, but I was still a witness when the cops quote unquote saw me. And so I was, yeah, I complied and I answered any questions and everything, but it kind of seemed like the scenario kept wrapping around me until I got pulled actually over there by him, which I was trying to stay away from. And then I got detained and then obviously fingerprinted and all that kind of stuff. But I was trying to figure out what's like, where do the cops draw the line as far as the questioning before you get detained just because you refuse to answer any more questions, kind of thing.
It's I mean, it's gonna change with each officer. That was a loaded question. There's a lot to it.
Yeah, sorry about that.
So it's going to be the officer's discretion, and of course, interpretation is, a big deal. What the cop saw, he saw you on scene. Everybody's dead. He did the best investigation he could, and the result may not have been what actually happened, but that's also a realistic thing.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah, so it seems just more of like whatever is there, the officer can just kind of go off what he sees. So I mean, the gist of your question is like, at what point does it need to get to during questioning before detainment?
Yeah, like where I mean, obviously there's no line for us because when the cops are on us, and we just either got to comply or we don't. But where is the line draw where I don't comply and I can get away from them? Like, if I don't want to answer any more questions, am I free to just leave, or are they just gonna detain me like straight off rip to make me
It
answer?
depends. If you're being investigated, and like if they're just talking to you as a random witness, like if you saw somebody shoot somebody at the VU, and the officer walked up to you, knows you didn't shoot the guy, and he's like, "Hey, can I ask you a couple questions?" You're like, "No, fuck off." I mean, he really can't do anything with you because you're not a suspect. So you can leave in that aspect, but I mean, if he doesn't know if you're involved or not, you have to, more or less comply with it. You don't have to tell him the truth. You don't have to answer his questions, but I mean, just be prepared for the result of that.
Okay, yeah, I mean, it wasn't okay, so the cop that actually went down was not up, but the cop that questioned me, he asked me, did I see or hear anything? And I told him I just heard shots around the corner. I thought they were prepping for fireworks or practicing fireworks, good excuse. And then I was thinking that was going to be the end of it and I was going to get away scot-free. That was not the case. And things kind of escalated from there. And I mean, it was still a good event. I mean, I still had fun with it and everything. But yeah.
And I mean,
I would also like to add to the point, since I was the officer involved with all that. You were also wearing the exact same clothes, hairstyle, and everything. Nothing changed except you removed your mask.
But the cop did. But the cop that questioned me didn't know that.
Right, but they called over the radio and told what you sounded like, or they said, "I'm questioning a female." I gave a description and it matched, so he brought you over to confirm with me, and that was the where you got into the shit, is because he confirmed with me.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the hard part of trying to answer a question of a scenario I wasn't involved in. But yeah, I mean, as long as you're not an official suspect, I mean, you don't have to answer questions, but if you are a suspect and you refuse to answer questions, I mean, you're going to be arrested for investigation. It is what it is.
Yeah, and you know, I've had plenty of people message me like, "Hey, I'm about to do this. I'm a little confused on it. Am I allowed to?" You know, and I'll be like, "Oh yeah," or "Oh yeah, no, I wouldn't do that." You know, so if in things like that, you can always reach out to the higher ups and just to get clarification. You know, what are you gonna say, Kenny?
Yeah. And you got to remember that every cop walks into a situation completely blind or only armed with very minimal information. And then it's their jobs to put the pieces together. And I would reiterate what Underwood said is that sometimes the result isn't always favorable, to the other person on the other end based on that information. And that's, I would agree that that's realistic. It's unfortunate sometimes, but it is realistic. And so, in RP, we have to kind of keep those things in mind that their story about how they're going about the investigation, the way that the RP leads, you almost have to kind of respect how that goes. And if it goes the wrong way, then you just have to find a way for your own RP to kind of continue that forward. But yeah, there's a really weird gray area when it comes to that because we're in a situation where it may not be completely populated. So the likelihood that the one person surviving in a situation is automatically suspect just by human nature. You know what I mean? You're just like, mm-hmm, mm-hmm, so, but it takes two sides to be able to respect that we don't have like that all-seeing eye and knowledge of those situations, which is where I think Big John's kind of forming that question, but I don't know, there's always small details, so I just always say that let the RP just kind of go where it's going to go no matter the result, and then different things can form from that.
I'm gonna also say this just
I was the officer asking Big John the questions. Big John, you were literally 15 steps around the corner. That's
I mean, but I was close. I was supposed to be close enough to where I heard the shots, but not close enough to where I saw anything. So when they came over
that's
and
the
asked
only
me,
reason why I wasn't even I didn't even know where you were. I just ran around the corner. I saw someone staring at me, so I walked up to you and started asking you questions.
At the end of the day, situations like that have to RP themselves out. And there might not be a clear cut like this or that. There's no like server rule in a lot of this stuff. You know what I mean? So a lot of it's just the discretion of the player that's playing the character and just go with it.
Also, something to remember whenever you're dealing with a police officer, and this is real life or in the city, doesn't matter. If you come off as standoffish with them, most likely their suspicion of you is going to increase exponentially. They're going to assume that because you are acting the way you are, that you were involved. If you just play it off, oh no, just out taking a walk, give them, don't offer any information, but also be polite. Guaranteed they'll let you off most of the time.
Also, to kind of branch off.
Life lesson too.
Yeah.
Like, it's a life lesson. I mean, there's a lot of people that make that mistake in real life. Like they just, and yeah, it's the same way here. Like I used to do it in the other city. You get pulled over and you just, hey, how's it going? Pull that bullshit where you're just like, hey, 9 times out of 10 they're gonna give you a hard time, unless they suck. In which case, it is what it is.
Okay.
It is what it is.
Yeah, kind of closing this question, I guess would just remember, like they mentioned, the cops are rolling up. They don't know what they're rolling into, and they may not make the right decision in your eyes because you maybe didn't commit the crime and just lucky it or whatever. Just go easy on them. Like a lot of people get really toxic toward the police in the game, and like we're all people just playing a video game. Like there's no reason to be shitheads to somebody that's trying to do their job in the game.
okay. Obviously, my final question at this time would be, is there gonna be a wipe?
I told you they were gonna ask.
So
I had asked.
So I mean, obviously, yes. I mean, the thing is, I don't like putting dates on stuff. I don't like because then people will be like, "Oh, what's the point?" Like especially like for the grinders and stuff. Like if that's their thing, then people will just not show up. But yeah, I mean that's the intended plan with the progression system, to include a wipe along with it. So that goes with the at what point should the progression system be brought in at, and that will answer when the wipe's coming. But no exact dates. I mean, it's been a lot of work.
And I would say that for those of you that have been with us since the beginning, that from the very first meeting and the very first talks that we've all had, even during testing and play testing, is that we knew going into this that the first iteration we weren't necessarily going to get 100% correct. And I would say confidently at this point that we did a pretty fucking damn good job. Where there was some things we had to kind of like emergency fix and whatnot here and there, but for the most part, we learned a lot along the way. But we knew that this was really just the foundation that we were setting, a little bit of crossing the fingers and just learning from how this went. So
Day one, we called it beta.
Yeah, right. This wipe that will come should hopefully be the 2.0 with a lot of things learned and then now implemented. So I think it's necessary, and I think it'll be overall a good thing. I hope no one views a wipe as a bad thing. I mean, if any of y'all play Tarkov, it ain't necessarily a bad thing. Everyone waits for that shit. Things get stale, things kind of move to a certain point, and then you wipe and everything's nice, fresh, clean. Everyone's got a clean slate, and everyone's RP can be in a different spot. Powers change and everything. That's good. That's healthy. So I think it's necessary.
All right. Thank you, Big John.
Thank you.
I'll be seeing you in
Long
a
live
bit.
Trono. Oh yeah, you will.
All right. Yep, cue ball. You nailed. You called it. Everyone's gonna want to know when the wipe is.
It's on the 33rd of February.
I was gonna say Thursday.
Hey,
Hello.
we're wiping the database
up,
right
Tony?
now while you guys are in here talking.
What's up? So, just wanted to know when the wipe was. I'm just kidding. Yeah. Simple concerns about what we previously talked about, like the cops being able to like just overall come to one place. But we talked about that. Maybe touch on that. I don't know. Talk about that as far as crims versus cops.
You're talking about numbers or
Yeah, so like
we had a conversation with him the other day. It was essentially them as a gang, they wanted to do like a drug selling operation, and have 4 people selling and 4 people on watch out ready to shoot, and they reached out to us to, like I said earlier, when stuff's like questionable or you just want to know, hit us up. So they hit us up and we're like, hey, is this a thing we can do? And obviously right off the rip, it's like, that's the complete break of the rule of 4. But then Tony and Big John's argument was like, well, there's 4 of us that are selling, but then like 8 cops can show up, and which sparked a conversation. I of course told them, they can do a group of 4 here, a group of 4 there, split across the city or in different areas of the city, so that way the calls for the drug sales are different, or they could even do groups of 3, and then one person can peel off to go help the other 3 that are being whatever, so essentially at its core, the question is, with police able to respond, if it's 8v4.
Yeah. So we did that, or we're starting to do that, and we're spreading them thin, right? But where it gets weird is that when we split up, right? All 4 of us kind of like, get on your bikes, let's go, type shit, right? We're chasing one guy, and now it's not even a group of 4 kind of thing like it was, because everyone's scrambling, everyone's on the same radio. Like that's what I was trying to explain to you, is that everybody wants to be a part of it. And what I've been
Right.
watching is like I have to keep reminding them, it's like, yo, you weren't part of the original four, back up. But it's that constant reminder, and that gray area is like, well, you're not even, you lost the cops and you're on in Vespucci, and R1's all the way in fucking by the docks. It's like, okay, now the closer ones by the old compound want to be there because they're closer. So it gets weird, and I have to tell them, no, I have to go over there, this, that, and the third.
Right. I see. So I see what you're saying. Like, if there's a scramble, like, does it have to remain that for? Okay, I see what you're saying. Because in the rules, it states that the original four that started are the original four that need to end. So it makes it difficult when you have two guys that are, hanging out talking on a corner somewhere, and they're closer to the other two that need help. How, it sucks that those two, because they're closer, can't go and help.
Yeah, and I've had this talk with Biggs one time when Draco was all the way on one side for a bank, and I just flew in, and I was the closer one, and I'm just hearing, I just got on the radio, right, just radio chatter, and I got in trouble because I was fucking shooting at cops, knowing damn well I shouldn't have been there, and yeah, I learned from that situation, but it gets kind of gray when it's drug selling. Right? It's because it's so solo.
And I think the rule of four in terms of how it's stated in the rules of if the original four that started, the original four that end, that's particularly for like a fight or like the zone, where, but see, that's that, like you said, that's where the gray area comes in on rotating.
Drug selling,
and it's not even like really a rotation, but like, oh, I'm closer, can I go? Oh, but wait, but you weren't the four, and one of them left because he had to go, go get food in his head.
So what happened was two of them went underneath the map, had to pop their heads. So now I'm like telling them, and then they come back, didn't know that I switched out people, and now it's getting weird. I was like, yo, just stay out of it. You guys were out of it. Just go back to Alta. So yeah, I was just letting you know to maybe think about more about that.
Well, I mean,
as
let's just say, all right, so you have four people. Two, one of them was like, oh, I'm gonna go eat, right, and or they had to pop their head or whatever, and then you brought two more in because they're just you had two other guys that were available, and somebody puts a ticket in saying they there's a weird roll of four thing going on here where they rotated people in. And if I were to go on that ticket and be like, hey, what happened? And you're like, oh, well, one fell underneath the world and he had to pop his head, and one of my guys was closer, like, I wouldn't have a problem with that,
Yeah, I get that, and totally understand that. That's a really good answer. Thank you, I appreciate that. Second, that one's more like weird fucking numbers. The second one is so I'm trying to teach my guys how to shoot. I've been trying to do that since having like those little shootouts in front of Pillbox, and I know how annoying it is to the cops seeing all those blips. So is there a way to maybe make a gun that has no blips? Just
Yeah, they're called
for
suppressors.
but that's only a chance. I've shot a suppressor and I've still got people or cops arrive. Correct?
I mean,
Or
you
is
guys
that
are doing illegal
mistake?
things, and you don't want cops to show up. I mean, that's
No,
sorry.
I'm saying like maybe like a
set something
paintball
up.
gun.
Well,
Like
Maybe set something up with
maybe
PD or
we're
something.
already, yeah, and we have done that before. That they were going to go quote play paintball, and we've given them approval to do that.
I mean,
Yeah,
you
reach
can
out or
also
something.
utilize the ammunition areas.
Yeah, if there's shots fired in there, cop might
I
show
mean,
up.
what are the cops going to say if they roll into a shooting range and you're shooting guns?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
That's good. So I'm just saying maybe like something that doesn't pop up in the sense that because we had a altercation with some cops, Peralta and forgot who else. I think Robin as well, and they were just saying that the blips are going crazy because we had like 5v5s going on at grandma's. and it was only like 3 cops left. So,
And I mean, even if you guys went out to like Mount Chiliad and were just like running drills or something and shooting, a cop shows up and be like, "Oh, we're shooting cans." Target practice, like you're not in the city, so it's not against the law to shoot a gun in the mountain.
and I totally understand that. And
out, you're fucked.
Yeah.
no,
Well, and
they're all
they can be
no,
doing
no,
that at grandma's house, though. And I mean, if they're doing the stuff
exactly.
legally, no one
It's
cares. It's
just
just the cops are
they
going
do
to
care though,
respond and see what's going on.
but they do care. Well,
Right.
you say that those things, but I feel
Again,
like you don't know all your
if
cops.
you talk to you're not listening though. If you talk to PD first, then it's fine.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? If you're out there just shooting and you guys
But we're
are shooting, of course they're going to come out and investigate. They're coming out because there's shots being fired.
Are we supposed to call every single cop? Am I supposed to have every single cop's
No,
number? Is there a
it gets called
way?
out over radio.
Okay,
We did
so
it
that
just the first time you guys did it. It was
and
totally
it worked
fine.
beautifully. It
Nobody showed
worked
up, right?
beautifully.
Because we
Then the
called that over
cops
radio. All I'm saying is
then
it takes 30 seconds of preparation to say,
totally
"Hey,
understand.
Fox, we're going to be shooting."
Totally understand that part. What I'm saying is that when it goes to 0, when we see that there's no cops, that's kind of like when we want to go do it, right? Because we don't want cops, one, to bother them with those blips. Two, we're not bad guys. We just know that how annoying it is to go to a call and wasting your time, right? Especially when it's 1 or 2 cops. But we make sure it's 0. But then they come in, right? Now it's 0. They've been gone for like 30 minutes, and then come at us like, "Hey, what the fuck is going on? You guys
Well,
are crazy. Let
the
cops
way to
know."
look at
It's like
that is
we
a,
saw
a,
that
a
that was no.
blip or a call is an opportunity for the person playing the cop to have RP. No matter, you know what I mean? So it wouldn't be a waste of their time to go out there. Like for instance, like Cyclops coming in on Smithson, he would, that to him, he would be like, "Oh, there's, I have an opportunity for some RP here." So you got to think of it as like, yeah, there might be a cop who's going to be like, "Oh, yeah, it was a waste of time," but in reality, cops need to think of it as it's an opportunity for some RP. Might go out there and have a good time, You got to think of it as an
I
RP
just don't want to.
opportunity.
I'm over here trying to make sure my gang doesn't fucking fuck up shit as far as like relationship goes and all that. Cause yeah, gang shit is where usually like the entry level or the someone that wants to do some ratchet shit just in the city comes to, and that's their RP, right? So it's a lot of babysitting and trying to understand what the fuck is going on. As the leader, I'm trying to just
All
make
right, so
it
hang on.
copacetic.
Here's the deal. I gave Dal a script. I sent him a script for basically laser tag. And you're using regular guns. We'll give them regular recoil. It won't give shots fired. It'll be in a contained environment. It'll automatically revive everybody at the end of the round and all that
That's
shit.
fine.
It's a
That's fine.
script specifically for that. Because here's the deal. If you guys are going to be out shooting at each other and stuff, quite frankly, PD should be responding to that. Unless it's like 4 in the morning, there's 3 people in the city. If you got 35 people in the city, PD should be treating it like anything normal.
Yeah,
We
it
did a
should be.
one-time thing out at grandma's house the other day, but so I mean, technically, you guys shouldn't even be out there shooting. I mean, yes, it's legal to shoot your gun outside the city. It's not legal to kill each other. It's also technically NVL. So
It really is. It really is.
So
It's
if we
weird.
do the
It's
script,
weird.
if we do the script for laser tag, it solves all of that. You guys can do tactical training in the form of laser tag, and we'll make the guns feel like regular guns.
Yeah, because I just don't want to be the last one standing and just shooting all the cops. That shit pisses me off. Like where my boys could be actually learning some shit and applying that fucking pressure.
Yeah, I think
as
that'll
far
solve
as
a lot of that training. It's the same conversation gets had with PD, how to train, do the gun training and stuff. So we're working on a solution. He literally just sent it to me before we started this. So
gotcha. That's all I had to.
All right, man.
say.
Well, I appreciate the questions.
No problem.
I'm gonna address Locos where he said with the crim nerfs coming out, what nerfs are and works for the PD. Incorrect way to think about it. The crim buffs have now been removed.
Yeah, that was never the way that was working was never how it was intended to work. The way it is now is how it was supposed to work from day one.
And I think about this. I said this the other day to some people. When you think, like, you think of cops, right? You have a way you think of cops. When you think about, not even in RP, just in general, when you think of cartel or when you think of mafia, what comes to mind? Do you think cartel or mafia are worried about going to a public location? They'll have a plan. They'll be prepared. It's just a normal way of doing business, like, right? So the idea now in RP with the crafting tables being in a public location, one, aligns with our vision, and two, IRL, cartel's not going to care. You know what I mean? So it wasn't a nerf at all. It's just cartel and mafia can say, we're buddies, we have an alliance, and there's literally no difference now other than maybe, you know, someone on the street can shoot at you now for that area. But it aligns better with the vision. You know, the idea behind the blueprint system was I wanted to see it move around. Even with, if it just stayed with VU, we wanted that opportunity for even the VU to lose it. The idea was, oh, okay, now the OGs have it. Now cartel has it back. Oh, now it's in PD, you know, which we would have to come up with a way for it to possibly go back into the economy after that point. But I wanted to see it move around. And with that system, oh, I just go and get it out of my cupboard, and now I go do this, and now I put it back in my cupboard. There's no opportunity for it to be lost. Now it could very well never be lost because whoever has it going to the public area has shooters, they have people, they have guards with them, and they're just good at it, and they never lose it, and that's fine. But there's still the opportunity.
So here's the biggest problem I have with this stuff. Everybody talks about this shit where cops are going to respond, 30 deep to a store robbery, and it doesn't happen. Everybody talks about this hypothetical that doesn't happen, it hasn't happened, and it won't happen. Like, we have procedures for that within PD, and we have supervisors that are going to tell people you can't run 30 deep to a fucking convenience store, or even 10 deep or 6 deep. We have 3 cars on a chase, good, don't need any more. I mean, okay, fine. If there's literally nothing going on, yes, and people are going to show up, you're still only going to have 3 people in a chase.
I think they're more concerned about if they do something in public. A gunfight ensues in that public location. Cops respond to shots fired, and next thing you know, cops show up with class 2 fire, they show up in force, and next thing you know, everyone's mowed down. Now they've lost everything.
Yeah, right. GG, get good. Honestly, I mean, look, like that's been, yeah. And if the cops get a hold of the blueprint, I mean, maybe you're gonna have to hire a cop. There's so many opportunities for RP here that, like, people are so focused on the stuff and the safety of the way in which they make their stuff. I get that, but at the end of the day, like, this stuff, you should be scared to leave your place with, or be at least extremely prepared to leave your place with blueprints, with gun parts, with all of this kind of stuff, because you're going to get robbed and you're going to get jumped. That was the whole point of full loot server. That was the whole point of everything that we had devised in the very beginning, and I think that adds an element of the game that is important, like as a crim. Crims don't just sit in their basement and twiddle their thumbs and get rich. You know what I mean? They got to take chances and go to prison and, do what they do.
Yeah. And the thing with the dirty cops, I can tell you right now, I know of 2 dirty cops. So it's not against the rules for a cop to be dirty. If a cop wants to play dirty, absolutely do it. I know of 2. So it could 100% be done.
Mm-hmm. I'm not the
dirty cop. Quattro, that is absolute bullshit. We have people that specifically target cops, and it's why we made the rule change to begin with.
Yeah, that's not true. Cops were literally
categorically untrue.
Cops were
Mr.
literally being just people rolling up fuck 12 and shooting them in the face, like for no reason. The most the most shitlord thing, the zero RP, just saying fuck 12 because they had to say an interaction. And it was happening
That was
like
not like the beginning of
literally
the city. This was
4, 5, 6,
just a few
7
weeks ago.
times a day to the same person.
Yeah,
Like-
we'd have like 20 or 25 a day get murdered and robbed.
I'd literally get a message. I'm fucking sick of this. Like, I literally just flew in and was setting up my radar outside, like just pulled out of PD and was just slaughtered for no reason. And it's like, this is bullshit. I'm not flying in. If you guys don't remember, like, it wasn't that long ago that we had cops not wanting to fly in because of it. That's why we had to make the rule change, because it's not fun at that point.
Well, here's the thing. Like you just said, we had cops not flying in. If everybody remembers correctly, there was a time when all the crims were complaining that there were no cops. They're like, where are all the cops? Well, because they didn't want to fly in because they were just getting targeted every time they were in. That's all it was.
Yeah, they'd roll up to a shots fired call, which was just somebody baiting them to a place, and they'd be sitting there looking around for the person, and 4 people pop out with class 2s, go get fucked, gun them down, and then they go body dump them.
Yeah, loot their body.
Speaking of
Loot
that,
their body and dump them.
People were
on that
acting as if
point,
cops were just a tool to obtain items.
Yeah. On that point, also, though, if y'all don't know this, because I believe it should be in the rules somewhere, but cop baiting is a bannable offense, is a strike. And I know before I've taken a little break, I've been working my ass off at work, like 60, 80, 90 hours a week. But before that started, I remember I caught like 3 or 4 people cop baiting. If you pull up to the police station and just fire shots at the station, that is cop baiting right there. That right there is a strike.
Yeah,
Don't-
and then
don't do
Shepard, I
that.
think Shepard asked me a question yesterday about if someone is following a cop around, is that cop baiting? And I said, you know, let's say the person has a hit on a cop and they're trying to just double check to make sure it's the right cop or following them. And, you know, the cop stops and is like, yo, what the hell are you following me for? You know, there's RP there. You know, the cop baiting is just shooting or purposely driving fast past PD or purposely driving fast. You know, like if I in the only situation where cop baiting could be a thing is like, okay, we're going to take a cop hostage. So I'm going to go find a cop. I'm going to drive past him so that way he follows me, and then I'm going to take him to a point, and then we're going to grab him. That's not cop baiting because there's RP there, right? So the cop baiting issue was just people literally just doing, I'm just going to drive around PD and shoot so they'll chase me. Like no. That has to be a reason. Crime without any risks. Risk is just you playing with AI. As a crim, you want to be looking around the corner for a cop while you're selling. True.
It's literally like the whole purpose of this. You know, if it was just, you know, a RP interaction and also like you get to just go do crime, basically sit in a Discord channel and play single player.
All right, let's see.
If there's no threat of losing your stuff, no threat of the cops coming after you, then what the hell's the point of doing it?
Yeah, it's really hard because until you become a cop, and that's why I'm always saying, like, if you want to try to be a cop, we always welcome it, so you can see both sides. There's a lot of work to be done. There's even paperwork. There's a lot of rules. There's a lot of everything to be a cop, and they're held to a different standard because of those rules. Just like a real cop, they have to meet a certain expectation. Unfortunately, not all cops meet those expectations, but that's a different conversation. But nonetheless, it's the same for criminals. You have to do extra work in order to make sure that you're not caught, to make sure that your plan is good, to make sure that your RP is good as well, out of respect for the cops and maybe even hostages or anything else. So the argument of like cops, get this and crims don't and all that is, I feel it, I get it, I understand it. Trust me, because I've been on both sides. But at the same time, the avenues are just different when you're playing both roles, and that has to be respected. You know, yes, cops get fucking cars. Yes, I can pull out a bulletproof vest and put it on anytime I want. I get ammo because someone goes and buys it, puts it in the armory, yada yada yada. But those are my tools for the job. No one complains about EMS. They get their trucks and their wee woos,
And
and
they make
of
more
course
money
they
than
have to work
anybody
for
in the
their med
city.
kits, and they make a lot of money, but no one complains about that. Why? Because they're there to help you directly and never punish you. So no one complains about it. But they'll complain about the cops because they're taking up your time at a certain point, at a certain moment. But that's not
So
really
there's
fair. You know what I mean? Just the job.
what
So
Holmes just said here is a perfect thing to pay attention to here, though. BCSO since day one has had to purchase their cars, and they were compared to a cop's salary pretty expensive. It's $100,000 to buy an Interceptor, which I know that doesn't sound like a lot for people that are buying $1 million supercars. But you got to remember, most of my guys are making like 1,500 an hour,
And that's
compared
for
to
highest
a
rank.
legal job making 12 to 14,000 an hour.
Right.
So
Let me steal your AR if I
LSPD
got you
hasn't been
down.
switched over to that, but at the wipe they are. At the wipe,
they will
LSPD is going to have to buy their cars.
Yeah, it was a test run that we were able to do because we were starting them fresh. And so now that we can see how it works, it actually works pretty well, and everyone seems to be okay with it. So we can roll that out to all PD. I actually, in terms of what Big John said, let me steal your AR if I got you down. I have no problem making that change, personally. Ever since that
Also,
we did the whole change with the guns and
Right. The
everything, I have
crafted
no
guns
problem
are
with that.
better, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
also, I
it
think
doesn't-
with
AKs are better.
with wipe, I'm going to make vests charge money.
I think something. Look. I played a crim. I'm the crim guy. Like that's always been my thing. Something that I learned in being a cop. Like one, there's a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of rules. There's a lot of bullshit. It is a lot of fun, but the city doesn't operate without having a police force. Like you can't do crimes, you can't do heists, you can't do all of these things. So the idea behind cops don't have anything to lose, like yes, you're right, but they're not playing to gain. Like their position and their role in the city is not to gain anything. It's not to get rich. If it was, they'd be going off duty, doing legal jobs, buying trucks, doing all this other kind of stuff. Crims play for gains. Cops are simply there for the crims to be able to function, and there's a lot of RP that happens in between. And good cops and good crims will be able to RP with each other and enhance all of that. So looking at it from like you guys don't have to pay for anything. Yo, it's fucking video game money. So if you want to make your video game money, the cops need to be able to not have video game money, because I've been a cop for months and I played every day on my cop for like 2 months. I think I have like $8,000 in his bank account. They just don't fucking make money. So,
Yeah, it's not what they're there for.
and if you want cops to make money, we'll do property taxes, all this other kind of shit to fund the police department. That's no problem either.
I
Nobody
think
wants
another
that.
thing is that being a cop is more about the RP and engaging in the interactions, where crim is, I'm going to get money, right? I'm going to get gangs. I think the separate that we're trying to do here is we have a blend in our city. People have always said that we've had an identity crisis when I've talked to them. And the thing is the criminals are money-based economy, while cops are RP-based economy. And I think that's why there's a lot of misconceptions between the police and also the criminals, because criminals are like, man, I had to work and get all this money. But cops had to literally spend a month as a cadet. Then they have to pass an AR test. Like they're putting in real time to be able to even get this AR. And it's all RP based. It's an
Yeah.
RP economy.
So to touch real quick back on the AR thing, I don't have a problem making it where you can loot ARs, right? But in a developer side of things, I go, okay, how can this be abused? Now, how can that be abused is people will just start targeting cops for ARs, right? So now we get back to that shitlord stuff. So how do we combat that? We make it where if you're caught with an AR, you'll get raided. So Big John is known to be in the Bloods. He has an AR. We're raiding the Bloods. You know what I mean? So that's the only way that can work, because I could say, oh yeah, you guys can just loot ARs now. We're going to go right back to square one where everyone's just going to be targeting cops and just shooting them and using them as a tool to get an AR. And that's where the problem is. So if you guys are fine with saying if you get caught with a police weapon and you can get instant raided, then I'll do it right now. But that you know, I don't want to hear any whining when your compound's raided because your boy forgot he had his PDAR on him. You know what I mean?
So I'm going to address something here. Loco said that cops pay $25 for their ARs. That is very disingenuous to say that that's the only cost involved there. Cops have to, we don't even give people the opportunity to get their AR cert until they've been with the PD for at least a month, most likely 2 months.
Here's a perspective. Hey, Q-Ball, can you share with the class how many times you had to take the AR test in order to get your AR?
5.
Yeah.
I failed it
So
5 times. And you can only run it 2 times a week.
3 times a week.
Oh, well, see, it's been changed since then.
It was 2 times a week before.
He was pretty pissed.
Yeah.
Can I hop in real quick?
Yeah.
He lost time. Oh yeah. Go
I think
it's okay. Sorry
Underwood
if
could
the middle of my sentence interrupted the beginning of yours.
I knew you'd like that. I think Underwood could attest to this too. On the PD side of things, we are trying to make it more so to hold PD accountable for things. The other day we tested out what it would be like to issue a suspension on an officer. We're looking at, possibly post-wipe, making certifications cost money. So not only do you need to put the time in as an officer, but
there's no possibly on that. That's what's going to happen. All of the certs are being wiped for everybody at wipe, and you're going to have to pay to do them. There's going to be a structured thing where you are going to be with PD for this amount of time before you can do it. Instead of just kind of a loose rule, it'll be clearly defined, and it will cost money to do certifications. It's going to be a fair amount.
Yeah, and I guess that's just the one thing I wanted to voice is I know this community meeting's taking a turn for Crims versus Cops meeting, but there's a lot of stuff that we're working on the back end, especially with Underwood, where we're trying to make it so that cops do lose things and money is more important to cops. It's not just okay, let me go back to the PD, arm up and go back out on duty.
And I think another thing too is if a cop loses his AR, there needs to be like kind of an internal investigation on it. Like Underwood or sergeants or lieutenants or higher or whatever can then now question the cop and try to figure out the situation on how they lost the AR, what the situation was, and start to have like a I don't know what it's called when you have rules to adhere to with your ARs, but like I said, I have no problem making it where you can take ARs, but I don't want to hear the whining when people get raided.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to shut down what Loco's saying right here, right now. Cops are not on the same kind of a thing that you are, right? We just talked about that. Cops aren't here for the gain and for the money and stuff like that. What they are paying for the gun is completely irrelevant. The idea is they work for the city. The city is providing them with these weapons, right? We put a cost to it just as a thing to make them so they have to have some cash in their pockets at all times. That there's something there. They don't make very much money. It's not about them having a gun versus Crims having a gun. Cops are there to match force with the criminals they're going up against, right? Cops won't pull a class 2 unless there's class 2s. It's unfair to send a cop in to a situation where they are surrounded by people with class 2s with a pistol just because it's expensive for a gun.
I would also like to say that people keep harping on the police don't lose anything, right? But what do police gain from going to the robbery with you and interacting and RPing?
True.
They get nothing. So
That's not true. They get paperwork.
yeah, we get a bunch of paperwork.
That's true. That's true.
But I mean, we're all here to RP, and that's why the cops are more focused, like I said before, on a RP based economy because they don't gain anything. They're just here to ensure everyone has a good time.
Look, nobody here is claiming that cartel didn't grind for their money. I'm going to squash this right now. This has been a recurring theme for the last couple of weeks. Cartel has grinded their ass off for what they've got. There are a lot of people that are mad because they have access to building guns. We gave everybody the option to have that, and they're the ones that took it. And Mafia also ended up taking it. And for the most part, for the whole first 3/4 of the city being live, there was no such thing as Mafia. And I'm not shitting on anybody from Mafia at all. I'm just saying they didn't have stuff organized. They weren't out there pumping it
Just
like
the way the
Cartel
RP
was.
came out.
Yes. And Cartel works their asses off. Now, I think
Mhm.
Cartel has been doing a little bit of stirring up shit lately, which is causing some other people to be mad at them.
Good,
but that's
more
a
RP.
that's a different
Fuck
thing.
it.
It does lead to more RP. It leads to more shit going on in the city. And it's been great for the city, which I'm sorry if people are mad about what's been happening, but we've had a lot of new people in. We've had a lot of people coming back and having fun. Um, the RP's been great. It's been fantastic, actually, the last couple of weeks. But I think people need to stop on this shit of cartel get stuff handed to them, because if you ever had to make guns, you would not say that.
Yeah, that's definitely no.
It's
yeah.
pure fucking cancer.
Yeah,
I don't
it's-
want to do it.
And trust me, when we were in the conversation, we saw what was going on in the gang OOC chat. I was telling Dallas, like, yeah, dude, the gun grind it's bad. Like it really sucks. So we came up with a way to fix it, and we said, well, cut it all in half, and
And to just be clear, it sucks on purpose. Now it sucks a little bit less, but it still sucks. But the reason being is what we didn't want is we didn't want everybody right off the bat to be rolling around with class 2s like it's fucking normal. You know what I mean? So we needed to make it difficult, a grind, so that it's basically artificially bottlenecking the class 2 economy, right? So that was the point. Now, the cartel and the people that make up the cartel are grinders. They're very efficient. They're very good. They run numbers. They're excellent. They had experience in the past doing stuff like this, and they nailed it, and that's where it is. But that was the reason behind it,
Yeah.
is to bottleneck the economy.
And in terms of like handed stuff and things like that, Mafia, because Mafia has access to the same exact things Cartel does, so they could be at that level or more if they wanted to. And like Jake said, it's not a slight to anybody. I'm just saying, if you look at Cartel and Mafia on paper, what they have access to is identical, apart from a Draco and a Gusenberg. That's it.
Yeah, they're the same job, just with a different name. They both have access to the same
Gusenberg,
stuff.
but no one noticed.
And look, at the end of the day, we're deep in the end game of this phase of the city. So with the wipe coming and with new progression systems, and hopefully a lot of you guys running into situations where you don't have any idea what the thing you just found does, and then nobody's going to tell you also, is going to be a great thing for the city.
The thing with Cartel and Mafia is Mafia has downside right now is RP because they were gone, so it's harder for Mafia to get back on top, so it makes sense. It sucks, but yeah. I mean, that's going to happen, right? Cartel has been not really around the last couple days. Like, I don't know how long, maybe a couple days, maybe a week. Mafia could have took advantage of that, So it's just the way it played out that way because that's just the way it played out. It was nothing in terms of, that's just what happened in the city.
Right.
Another thing about that is like, that's not a staff thing. Like, just so you guys know, like how people progress in their RP, how people progress their characters, what your organizations do is not anything to do with rules game mechanics or anything like that, like it's not like, you know what I mean? Like, please don't put in tickets that are like, oh, well, these guys get this and that and this and that, and that's not fair. Because like, at the end of the day, everybody's got the same opportunities to be able to RP out. If you want to make guns, you go join the orgs that can make guns. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of this stuff, a lot of where this is a personal opinion of mine, a lot of where we fell short in this first phase of the city was we babysat way too much as staff. And I would like to see us kind of take a step back and let you guys figure out what's going on in the city. So if you open to, like, if there's rule breaking and stuff like that, like, okay, we'll take care of that. But outside of that, if it's like, yo, this person has shit RP, I don't know, RP better with them. You know what I mean? Like, that's not something that we can force people to do.
Right.
All right.
And
I think we should take some more questions.
Well, I was just about to get on that same topic. Scrap's been in here waiting to talk for like 20 minutes.
Scrap, what's up, man?
I got two things. They're not really questions, but more of like concerns that aren't about cops or crims. Really, it's kind of about both. So one of them is I've talked to a few people about OOC talk in the city, and I kind of realized this when like Baker, Peso, or Streamin, Shepard, Smithson, whoever's streaming. I just was afraid that some sort of OOC talk was going to be overheard. So I was wondering if it maybe could be enforced a little bit harder. Like, I get you're alone with your boys sometimes, but maybe just keep OOC talk out of the city altogether.
I mean, we can't really say all OOC talk because, if let's just say me and Biggs are fishing, at that point, there's not really a lot of RP. If it's just two buds fishing, we might talk about, hey, what are you doing in New World? Like, oh yeah, oh man, the other day I bought a friggin' racing wheel. It's fun, man. You know what I mean? So we can't really say the OOC stuff because people are just going to talk. They want to talk with their friends. I mean, in reality, people are just playing a game, but when it comes to the interactions and stuff, like even if I have a character, if I'm doing a voice, I'll talk normal if I'm just talking to like Jake or something. But then when other people roll up, then suddenly, I'm Pablo again or whatever,
Yeah, I get
think,
that. I mean, it's just like I've driven past like the sidewalk on a random street before and heard people OOC talking, and I'm like, oh.
I mean,
Like, I
it'll
get if it's a
happen.
ticket or something. That's different. Yeah.
Part of the problem is the voice range is so odd in this. Like it just sometimes it's not the same. You know what I mean? You can be in a building and sometimes you'll hear people inside, sometimes you don't as you drive by. Sometimes it's just a voice range thing because of how 5M handles voice. There's not much you can do about that. If you're looking around, there's nobody near you, you can presume some sort of like it's okay to talk. And then if you drive past them, is that I get what you're saying, that you shouldn't have to hear OOC talk, but at the same time, I think people just need to be adults and understand that it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest problem with so much of this stuff is some of this stuff, somebody bubbles you, you can in character, be annoyed with them because, oh, you hit my car and that kind of thing and RP it out. But we get a lot of complaints from people that are like, oh, somebody tried to VDM me and it was very clearly a bubble in the video. Like you can see it happening. The car doesn't even touch. And stuff like that is just literally people wanting to be angry about something. So please just remember that. Please be an adult about stuff. Don't let game mechanics be a problem for you.
So I invited
in a lot of cases.
I invited 48 to come up and speak right now too with Scrap. 48, if you want to accept that. Because he said people need to be held more accountable because it's not just when people are fishing and whatnot. Okay, that's fine. So what do you mean by that? Like what exactly is?
I think it also seeps into like the gang war. Like obviously there's a lot of personal beef going on in the gang war that people are getting heated about, but it's even in situations like that, like where it kind of seeps into RP. I'm fine with people asking like, hey, we're chilling, can I talk OOC? Or like, hey, do you mind if I say something to OOC that kind of pertains to this group of people or whatever? But when it comes to a situation where like, I don't know, I don't want to point out specific times because it's calling people out, but there's been plenty of times where someone will bring something up that's like super OOC.
I mean, at that point, that's not allowed.
Interaction. Right, exactly. I think we should be very clear that when you're just, out in the fucking cuts, just chilling, driving around or whatever, and you do a little OC talk with your homie, that's okay. But you're in an interaction with other people, a gunfight, a fucking any of that shit that's an RP situation, there needs to be no OOC talk. That's where it needs to stop. I don't want to be a stickler on saying all OOC talk is punishable, blah blah blah, because I want to give people the benefit of the doubt that they know how to handle their scenarios, their RP scenarios. But if you're at a store robbery and you're OOC talking, or you're getting arrested and you're OOC talking, or you're in a gang fight and you're OOC talking, you're a shitlord.
Yeah,
and I don't need that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
that's bullshit.
With 48 said people need to be held more accountable. People need to tell me, because I didn't know this was going on. Like if
to be clear, the one they're directly referencing was sent to us. We have video on it.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the case, then fine. But
see, that's
but
the
still,
only
like,
one. That was the
just,
first one in a long time. But okay, I see now.
Pretty simple. Stay in character when it really, really matters. That's it. That's why we're here. It's what it's about. It's what RP means. Just stay in character when it matters.
Also, stop talking while down. I know most of you don't, but I still sometimes see people do. If there's like a scuff, sure, whatever. But if you're down,
yeah, use your best judgment. But even saying that, sometimes people don't understand. Like, use your best judgment.
Yeah, I mean,
even if you're not
just
dead, assume you're knocked
down.
out. I mean, you can grunt and make noises to be funny or whatever. That's your RP. That's fine. But like, if I'm watching a gunfight and I hear somebody go, "He's over there," and you're down, like, we got a problem.
The second thing I wanted to bring up was it kind of made me think about it when we're talking about like the cops and the blips when someone shoots, and you guys were like, "Hey, just use a silencer." And then I thought about like, why don't I use a silencer? And it's primarily like I have to wear armor, and I'm pretty good at making sure I have armor and taking it off before anything happens. But silencers, you lose them when your head pops, anything crazy happens, right? So
right, you can take them off in
it's kind
exactly
of
the same way you can take the armor off.
But what
Yeah,
he's
I know, but
saying
it's
is
not
the
like
unexpected.
Right, I
crash
understand
course
that,
thing,
but those don't happen very often.
And
it's not
we're
like
aware
you drive a quarter mile and then crash.
And we're aware that
Yeah,
that system isn't very good.
We're
and
looking at other ways.
we're looking.
It's just there's not.
Yep.
It's not good.
Okay, that's what I was just wondering too. That's all I had.
Another thing I kind of want to touch on real quick.
Thank you, Scrap.
Is that yeah, thank you, Scrap. Appreciate you. We, as many of you have known, we opened up the floodgates, so we don't have a whitelist requirement at the moment. This was to kind of test things out and kind of see what that would do in terms of our numbers and bringing more people in, because not a lot of people want to go through that process. It is, a little rough, especially new people. However, what that means for those of you who are regulars and in here all the time is that we need to grab those people and we need to kind of welcome them in a way. You know what I mean? It's someone that comes into the city that could be someone just like you or just like me or whatever, first time or whatever. The first 30 minutes of their experience and interactions with people are going to determine whether or not they're going to add one more person to our numbers over the next week, 2 weeks, month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever, right? So just be mindful of that when you see new people or people that you've never seen before, is that we need to make sure that we're welcoming them and creating an environment that they're going to want to stay in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I've seen, and I want to do a shout out real quick, is I've seen in the last week or so, Big John and Jordan really doing that on some new people, even just interacting with people in random areas, finding out if they're new, you know what I mean? So they've been doing a great job of that.
Yeah, and I just want to add something that also means don't instantly shitlord somebody. Yeah, you can be a shitlord sometimes, but if you're a shitlord instantly somebody, they're not gonna stay. You're gonna that'll single-handedly ruin the whole community. And I experienced me and Dredd had a big experience one time with that, and it really got us two pretty mad that day.
Yeah, I mean, if your character is a gangbanger and you like to just fuck people up and shit, you know, like obviously you have to have that interaction before action. Maybe in that interaction they're like, yeah, you know, I'm new, you know, I just flew in the city, I'm fresh. Maybe your character doesn't feel like banging that day on that individual. You know what I mean? I see.
What else we got?
So,
Porky, did you have something? I know you've been here for a little bit. No? Okay. Daniels, what you got?
How you doing, everyone? Former director, Honeycutt, now Coke dealer. So I wanted to add the whole OOC thing. So I noticed this, whatever, and the thing that bothers me is like there'll be a huge interaction between like crims, cops, or whatever, and then it instantly goes from that RP scenario to, man, I saw you on that roof and blah blah, and it goes into a whole like conversation to make it in from RP to game. And so that kind of like bothers me is because we get into a very casual thing, and it's been happening on more occurrences, and usually I just drive away from that shit.
Oh, you
It's
mean
like
if I got into a shootout with Underwood and EMS brings me up and I'm like, man, I came around that corner and you were, you know, stuff like that? Is that what you mean, or like,
yeah,
give me an
like
example?
that, but like that, yeah, exactly like that. But it's you can tell that it's not RP based whatsoever. It's just a, man, you had a good shot, or what we're using. Like it goes from, it's supposed to be crim versus cops to friend and friend interaction, where like it breaks away from the RP scenario of you're a cop that just got shot at by a crim. You're not supposed to be like, bro, you almost got me, bro. Like, hey, good shots. And the crim going like, damn, bro, yeah, you got me. Like,
true. And I'm even guilty of
Yeah,
that.
we all are. I know exactly
And
what
then-
he's talking about.
Yeah.
And yeah, I feel like we just need to condition ourselves. And I'm not saying like I don't
Mhm.
do it. Like, fuck me, I'm not perfect. I don't give a shit. And
None of us are.
I just think no, none of us are, you know, especially you, Powers. But
I
I'm
am
just messing around.
toxic.
I love Powers. I love Powers. But like I think we just need to condition ourselves a little bit better to do that, so we're keeping the RP, we're keeping it up. And like, and this is the thing, like a lot of people say it, I'll say it, I don't care. Like, yeah, I hang out with Big John outside city, but he's a big one too. Like every time I RP with Big John, like yesterday, me, Banks and Holmes. I'm sorry, but that was just, it was hilarious. The RP was fucking bar none hilarious. It was beautiful, and he had us in stitches. And he always finds a way, if it's like, and it was a scuff situation where he accidentally flexed his muscle. He was trying to reload his gun. He flexed it, like he fat fingered to sell drugs, and he sold drugs behind a wall. And he explained it to us, but he said in a way like, yeah, he came up to me and he tried to dig in my pockets and all this other stuff, and he played it out so perfect that I couldn't even fucking like push to talk because I was laughing. And Banks is laughing, and Holmes is over here being the shitlord laughing, and I'm like, oh my god! And he played it out so well, even though it was a scuff situation. We played it out nice.
You know,
But the
that
whole
that kind of
conditioning of
drives
us-
in what especially Biggs has talked about is, no matter the situation, you just got to keep continuing with the RP and let it play out. You know, like even if there's a scuff, could try to still continue and play with RP, and then, you know, if it's an admin thing or a staff thing, then it'll be handled after the fact. But just allow things to play out fully, you know, and just continue the RP. But I see what you're saying, and I get it. That's something I hadn't even realized. You know, I had never even thought about that. So that was a good one. But yeah, just try to
yeah, and it
keep,
happened.
because you
Oh, sorry,
also
go
got to
ahead.
think of it, because at the end of their interaction is the beginning of yours. Like if you know, when you're EMS, if you're EMS, the end of somebody's interaction is the beginning of yours. And if you bring them up and they're immediately talking like that, it has ruined your opportunity or the EMS's opportunity. So I 100% see where you're coming from. So just everyone should just try to keep everyone's RP in mind in every situation, you know, and allow opportunities of RP for everyone. Same
Yeah,
thing with
and it
like
happened
the
yesterday.
calls.
I see Keep in here. like Keep is in here, which if you know him in City, you know him in City. If you don't, well, I mean, I feel bad for you because he's amazing. Even though he's new to RP, I mean, I'll give him mad props. Yesterday we were in a car chase with him. We're in an active 1080, and his buddy that was driving had a huge headache, and he crashed. We sat there, we waited for his buddy to come in, and he came in, instantly put his hands up, thought that the shit was over, but they were getting away from us. They were doing pretty good, so we reset, redid it. They stayed within RP, whatever, and we continued with the chase, like true nothing. But they didn't break. Like even though I believe they're both new, because I rarely know them, and Big John could put it in the chat, tell me they're both new. That'd be cool, but like they stuck with it. They didn't break. They didn't go OOC, nothing, because Big John's kind of pushing them in that direction where don't do that because they'll get your ass chewed 100%. They're newish, but it's like shit like that. Like if someone does break, like be nice, but kind of tell them to shut up real quick. So
No, I see where you're coming from. Yeah.
We only just condition ourselves, and that's why I feel like instead of going all buddy, get the situation over, and then if you guys want to discuss it later, OOC, I mean, fucking talk about the fight. Go over recap on the video, referee it.
Yeah, but just keep everyone's RP in mind, and
yes.
Yeah. So that was a good one. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I appreciate you guys, man. Been having a lot more fun today. I know I took a big time off, and I came back in. I feel like everybody's RP got a lot better. I'm having a lot more fun as being, a cop. Honeycutt now is obviously retired, so he's not doing anything. But
yeah, get fucked.
Oh, I don't care. I'm having more fun on the cop, to be honest. There's been a lot more interactions and a lot more RP on that.
Oh yeah.
But
Cop's a great thing.
Yeah.
Cops, I mean, it's a great tool for just pure RP. It really is.
Hell yeah.
But I appreciate that, and I'm gonna bring Whitty up here to talk about the bench trials and everything.
Oh, Woody, you have to accept the invite to be joined as a speaker.
Hello?
You have to click on the community meeting, like voice channel. And you should be able to click.
Speak as chain.
Yeah. Oh.
There
My
you
microphone
go.
was blocking it. Fuck. Anyhow. So yeah, I just wanted to give a general idea as to like the underlying reasons for the bench trial. I'm basing it off very few YouTube highlights I've seen of. I know people hate when it's compared, but of No Pixel and how they do bench trials. So the main goal moving forward is to try and speed them up a bit. They're really fun, but I know they're time consuming. So yeah, what I want to really clarify is that it's purely RP based, and it's not going for realism as much as it is just format. We're definitely still working on the format of it, but all of that should be brought up after. During is weird. It makes everybody feel uncomfortable. So just follow whatever because I'm not the only judge. So anytime that the judge says something's going, it's going. If you want to make a RP a case against the judge or RP a case against a case that happens, that can all be arranged. I think it would be really good RP. But to keep it realistic, it should, what the judge says kind of goes for the time being. I think more people should try and be lawyers. More people should take up the idea of a bench trial if you haven't done one before. It's not just a time waster. It opens up like a crazy amount of like RP branches, if that makes sense. Like something could happen where maybe like Donnie Smithson I sent to anger management for tasing somebody 7 times, and that could branch into his character now, doing weekly sessions or known as the anger management cop or whatever it might be. It all gets RP'd out.
Just to
he tried to hold me in contempt, but apparently the bailiff forgot his handcuffs.
Yeah, so that's it. Just it could even be like in that situation, like if there's a cop present, a cop steps up if the bailiff's not, or whatever it might be. Like those are all RP audience opportunities for the audience as well. I think it would be kind of crazy if someone tried to shoot inside of a courtroom. I think if someone tried to attack in a courtroom, that could all be really good RP. There's of course consequences that come along with that, but the main goal is strictly RP. So like I remember when I first tried to bring up like giving someone an additional charge, there might be a lack of realism in that. Maybe a judge can't really do that. But for the case, like the situation, all I was trying to do was either make a charge seem lower or have like open up opportunities for other people that are RPing as psychologists or whatever it might be. To have give a criminal ride along with a cop as a punishment. Exactly that kind of stuff. I would love to be able to do as a judge or any judge, so that there's like RP situations, or maybe there's a case where a cop accidentally shoots another cop, and that's being brought up, and I will then sentence that a cop to having to do a type of training, right? Like there's just so many avenues. But the main thing that I want to clarify is that it is so strictly RP based. If you guys you guys could straight up lie to the judge. You could create complete BS if you could RP it to a place where and the opposing group does not counter it and disprove what you're stating. The judge doesn't know what happened at the crime scene, and therefore it could hold up. So that's just something I want to point out.
The perfect avenue. It's like a blank slate canvas ready to be painted of RP.
You're talking about branching out. I mean, there's one point when the chief was chewing out Donnie's ass, and then Donnie's response was to start doing yoga in the middle of the captain's office while he was getting cussed out by the chief. And that all stemmed from the court case. So like you said, it branches RP for future scenarios that aren't even involved in the bench trial anymore.
Yeah, so like the RP extended. Yeah. Which is, and it's also like what Whitty's doing with, and Underwood is also involved with the bench trials. Like what Whitty did, that's the perfect example of just like an amazing idea, and we're like, yeah, let's do it. It's like the perfect thing. Amazing.
It did
idea.
happen really quick, and I know people have been talking about bringing up like bench trials and DOJ, and I was just like, I think at the beginning of that day, I was like, yeah, I think I'm just gonna annoy everybody enough to where it just kind of, I feel like doing it today, so I'm just gonna like push at it until it happens, and it worked out.
Yeah, it's great. I love it. That first one, at least the one that I got to witness, it was amazing. I loved everything about it, and the character is great. The car he drives is funny. Like it's amazing.
I want to make it more where it's like something that crims are open to doing. Like obviously the RP should be a big appeal to it, and I want to make it as like RP fun. But I know there's some crims out there that are doing it because they really don't want to serve 60 months or whatever in prison. And I would say like it's really difficult, and this is a challenge to the cops to actually prove every charge effectively to a judge that knows nothing. That's hard to do, especially when there's 5 charges. Maybe they forget to talk about one. They don't have pictures. It's all hearsay. A cop's statement in a court is equivalent to that of a criminal's. I think that's something important to know too. So if a cop just says like, well, this is what I'm saying, like this is what I think, or at least to my knowledge, it's pretty much equivalent.
Right.
So
and that's
keep
great.
that in mind.
Yeah. So I mean, and I think essentially he wants more. So if anyone's interested, hit him up. If Whitty's not available, shoot Underwood a message. You can always talk to me about it. But yeah, like the more balls we get rolling on the bench trials and lawyers and stuff like that, I think it'll be a lot of fun where the interaction doesn't end at the arrest.
So, I just want to touch on what Holmes said real quick. He's stating about the like amount of calls that cops get and whatnot. Like only one cop, whoever one of the arresting officers would be great to have there. But if there's like a bank, for instance, like trials on pause, go to the bank. Like just we stop it. Maybe we make a really quick sentence right there for the criminal. That's why I wanted to do it at the PD to start with, to make it like easy the cops. Because I remember back in another city, like the main issue is like cops didn't want to be held there and all of that stuff. Like it's pretty annoying for cops, and it's somewhat mandatory. So yeah.
And that's why that's another reason why we're forcing more people to push books. Underwood has specifically stated, and Fox, and kind of scolded a few of us to push more on charges and throw the whole book at a criminal. because
That's not
it gives
that's
more
not
insensitive.
true, Porky. It's not throwing the whole book at them. We're not making shit up. We're just charging them for what
Not
they
making
But like no
stuff
breaks,
up, but
essentially, is what you're
throwing
saying.
no breaks.
Right.
Yeah.
That is correct.
So
I
it
think there's
entices
we say
them.
throwing the whole book because
It entices them to want
it's
to do the bench trial, right? Rather
Yeah,
than giving
and
a
if you
break.
guys don't want to do the full bench trial and you have a go-to lawyer or you request one, that could just be talked about with a lawyer real quick. You know what I mean? It doesn't always have to go straight up to bench trial. I think there's a lot of RP opportunity for just be like, I want my lawyer, bring me a lawyer, and expressing the right you have, like as a citizen, to have a lawyer come in and be like, well, I think we'll do pretty good in a bench trial and this cop, and maybe we'll even, really try and scold this cop because this is incorrect. And then the cop's like, well, okay, and maybe they'll reconsider or whatever, right? So there's all of that.
Cool.
Awesome.
I like it.
Great work. Great work. Anything else you wanted to touch on, Witty?
No, that's it.
All right. Hell yeah. We appreciate you. Appreciate the everything you've been bringing. Amazing.
Big John's been waiting on a little bit now. Want to bring him in
again?
Let's.
Yeah, again. Unless we want to grab someone new since he's already talked.
Yeah, I sent the invite.
Hours, you got anything else left?
nothing I know of.
Hello.
Hello.
What shall we answer for you today?
So I'm new around here, as some of you guys know. I've been
Hello,
here
new.
for almost a week. And there's a couple things that I've noticed while I've been here. From a new perspective, someone just joining and whatnot. So I joined the EMS because I'm limited on options. And wow, who changed my name? Who did this?
I have no knowledge of this. Anyway, continue.
For the EMS, what I've noticed and would like to discuss is you guys, as the PD, talked a lot about in-character interaction, and we're all here for RP and whatnot. As an EMS, it's kind of hard to get the same level of RP, I've noticed, because when we come up onto a situation after getting a call, someone's laying on the road and the Apple Watch, the diagnosis doesn't always tell us exactly what happened. So there are times I roll up on somebody and their car is, 5 feet up a mountain and they're on the floor in a highway. And I'm like, okay, what happened? And while I'm trying to figure it out, it says, oh, this person just fell, And it's like, where did you fall from? But then it's like, it looks like a car accident, and you try to role play one thing saying, hey, because the people that are down can't speak. It's like, hey, I think, this happened. So you try to role play one way. You pick them up and all of a sudden, hey, yeah, I forgot to eat. And it's like, what? There goes the whole RP. And it's like, I feel like there should be a level of being able to let the EMS know what happened so that we
There
can
is
role play
already,
it more
though.
properly.
We've always said that the people that are downed can do a little bit of like, this is where it hurts role play. That's
Well,
always been the thing.
if they can, use the /me command and have a little text above their head saying, yeah, it was a car
Yes.
crash or something simple,
we
like
Right.
car
highly-
crash.
People do
or-
that, or
highly
you can use voice.
Yeah,
I've
if somebody's
never had
it's-
anyone do that.
Well, okay, so that just might be a confusion on the whole you cannot talk while down. The only exception I should say is if you're communicating with an EMS. So like, my leg, I think absolutely.
You can role play your injuries.
You can role play your
You
injuries,
can
yeah.
definitely role play your injuries. Yeah.
I would say, sorry.
No, you're good. Go for it.
I would say the degree of the injury should dictate whether they can say, oh, my leg, or, use the little text saying, hey, yeah, I got flung out of my car going 150 down the highway after hitting a local and got flung through my windshield.
That's always been the thing. It's just whether people use it or not is the question.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's it.
And that's just going to be their
really
RP.
important. I think it's extremely important, and I'm glad that you came forward to say that because you are new. And your experience with RP is limited at this point, but at least you have an understanding or an expectation of RP at this point, which is amazing. And then you get into a situation and you go, wait a minute, there doesn't seem to be any RP here. And that's actually good that you're bringing that up. EMS has been plagued with this exact scenario a lot. Another scenario that happens often is you go through all the trouble of RPing your side out, doing a wonderful job of RPing out the person's injuries based on the information that you have. And then what ends up happening? The person comes up and they go, "Oh, cool, thanks, bye," and they fuck off. And
Well,
you're
that's
like,
also
"Great,
another thing I
cool,
wanted to talk
thanks."
about.
Right.
So
I know we have. Sorry, go
we
ahead.
have talked about we're wanting to revamp EMS, and that is something I do want to see. Like people talked about, like severity of diagnosis should be mandated. Mandatory to go to the hospital. Yes. So I think we should start talking about getting those things in order, so that way there are times you do have to go back with EMS and stretchers and all that. They're always every script with stretchers and things is always so crappy.
Yeah.
So that makes it
Like
difficult.
we have a stretcher, you can use it, but it requires cooperation from the patient.
Al, is
Rely
there
on
a
other
way?
people.
Is there a way that we can make it so that we can put dead people in cars?
Yeah, pick them up.
Actually,
Unfortunately,
pick people up when they're down.
So we've gone through in a lot of these things. One of the things that we came up with when you have somebody that's down, as the EMS, one of the things that you can do to kind of push RP in your direction to get them to communicate is after you diagnose them, you can say, okay, well, this guy's definitely going to make it. Like, hey, man, can you hear me? Like, what happened? And then usually they'll start to kind of play along with something like that. And they'll kind of explain like what happened or anything like that. As far as like a lot of your EMS RP is actually going to be with, a body, as much as it's going to be with people that are interacting with you. I've been a big advocate to remove the timer for people to be able to expire. That way, it gives EMS an opportunity to take people back to the hospital, because a lot of what Biggs is saying is what happens, right? Like you pick somebody up or you patch somebody up, and they're like, "All right, see you later." But if they're dead
And I
and you take their
notice-
body back and you're running X-rays and stuff like that,
And I
you
notice
run into
people don't
different stuff.
realize there's 2 timers.
I-
They'll be like, "I'm about to die," and I'm like, "No, that's just the first timer."
Would
Yeah, you
like
get 30
to,
minutes before you actually die.
I would like to say I don't want the timer removed just because sometimes EMS aren't online.
Yeah, there's no
and
way
if you don't
we
have a
could.
timer,
No.
then you
There's
can't
still
get
going to
back
be a
up.
forced DOA.
I know,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
Kickball
No,
was saying
it's-
he would
No.
want to.
No.
away.
Just
Okay.
remove
Oh,
the
yeah,
fact that you
no.
can only do it for a certain amount of time. Because
Oh,
right
okay.
now
Right.
it will force DOA you after 30 minutes.
So there's a beginning timer before you have the option to force DOA, and then once that first timer's done, now you can choose the DOA, and if that timer then goes to the end is when you auto DOA. So there's
It's a total of 25 minutes.
What I'm
It's
talking
same-
about is you'll always have the option to hold E and expire if there's nobody coming. You know what I mean? But
The
it'll
only
take away
reason-
from the hurry up and save me.
The only reason that I put the timer on waiting before you can hold E is because people would get down, and the second they're starting to get robbed, they would hold E. So that's why I extended that.
So I think one thing is very important that I want everyone to hear is that EMS needs to be respected just like the cops or crims are respected in terms of RP. It's a two-way street. If an EMS shows up on scene and does a whole RP thing about your injuries, and you get up and you basically ignore it and say, "Okay, cool, thanks, bye," in order to move on with whatever it is you thought you were doing, you've robbed EMS of their RP. Eventually, what that creates is EMS who either don't care to RP anymore with people because they feel like that's how it's going to go every single time. or you get EMS that just don't want to do that job anymore because they're not getting the RP, right? And now you're never being saved, right? So it's a two-way street. Everyone has to respect EMS, and then EMS has to do a good job with making sure that their RP is on point. It actually, I would say, in my personal opinion, being EMS, is that it requires actually strong RP skills because it's almost entirely RP based. You got to make up shit on the fly. And so when you have really strong RP going on, it just enhances that. But if it's not reflected back by the person that's being worked on or revived, it's just kind of shitty for EMS at that point. You know what I mean? So it's a
I would
two-way
go a step
street.
further than this, Kenny, and I would say we should probably have a server rule that says you have to go through with the RP. You can't just jump up and fuck off.
I would also like to talk about that. We have the 12 injury DOA. It would be nice to have a injury limit, so say around like 7 or 8 that it's
That's not going to
mandatory
happen. That is. Oh, I'm sorry.
to go.
I apologize.
That it's mandatory to go back to the hospital. So like
Okay, so like a critical
That's fine,
injury limit.
yes.
So
yeah, like a critical injury limit that we have to take you back to the hospital so that we can go through with that RP of being able to,
So it's
have
12
RP
now,
for
right?
EMT. 12 is DOA.
12 is
12 is DOA. So what she's trying to
So
say is
6
that
and
if
above,
there's
you have to go back to the hospital.
You have to be
Right.
taken back to the hospital and go through with more extensive RP with the EMT versus, hey, I'm going out to go pick this person up. Hey, here's a med kit. Hey, you're good as new, perfectly fine after you just flew off Mount Everest, or fell out of a helicopter. I had someone skydive out of a airplane, smack into the pavement. Their injury was like a 6, and they weren't DOA. So pick
And I
them
think-
up. What they do?
And I think Holmes
They
makes a
just
good
ran off,
point. Just like how a lot of things are up to like the cop's discretion, I think if someone needs to go back, should be up to the EMS's discretion too. If the EMS say you got to go back, you got to go back.
I think that's the way it should be. I think you should have to follow medical advice.
Yeah.
And if
Also,
you don't, then you could, if people aren't, then you RP it out where, you guys get cops on radio, cops come over and we forcibly do it.
Yeah, and at that point, yeah, this person's crazy. Can we get some help over
I
here?
like that idea.
Yep, exactly.
It gives that opportunity. Big John said some people get picked up by their homies and then they'll get stabbed, but the old injuries show up in the dialogue for injuries.
That does happen.
That's
So I think it should be based off discretion then, rather than a number.
You get in trouble there, I think.
Yeah, we're working on it. We have
Yeah.
current open conversations that are happening about these subjects. A lot of us have played EMS. I played EMS, Biggs played EMS, Garrick's played BMS or EMS. So we know what goes on with those, and we know how RP intensive it is. Some of my best RP has been with the EMS. Like me and one of my buddies were the hardcore parkour champions of the city, and every time we came in, they knew. You know what I mean? But we just got to figure out what these systems are going to be and what makes sense and what values the time of EMS as well as the people that they're treating. So just let us kind of work on that and
would
see what we can
also-
do.
I feel like it would also make people think twice before having a giant shootout with the police, because if they have to spend the time role playing to go back to the hospital, it would lessen the chances of them getting revived and then like 2 minutes later doing another giant robbery.
And it'll make planning for grandma's house being more of a thing. The other thing that I want to touch on is a lot of things with EMS is we're working on limitations in terms of scripts and on the developer side stuff. There's not a whole lot out there for EMS, unfortunately. There's not a lot of love out there, which is why we've been trying to kind of creatively think of things that we can add ourselves with the tools that we have available to us. And on top of that, what we have now are the tools that we have available to us, in which case we have to make rules or decisions based around those limitations, which is kind of where we're at with everything that we've talked about this far with EMS. And that's unfortunate. It is just the way it is. in a perfect world, I would love a advanced injury system that would basically dictate these different levels of injuries to our EMS, but it's just not there. And what we do have is probably the best that's out there at the moment. And that's not saying much, let me tell you, but it's still pretty good. So,
I do know one of the developers that we've used some of his scripts for has been working on a new EMS system the past couple of months.
Oh, nice.
So,
are you talking the Tigers one, or
no, it's a different guy.
Oh, because Tigers has one as well.
Interesting. We'll have to look at those because it's the least loved section of development for any 5M server is EMS. They're always the same. There's nothing out there.
There's so much. It's so hard to do anything with it, though. Is why it's just, what do you do? You know, like every
It's
idea
just not
you
as
come up with,
interesting.
just
And the system you guys
it's
might be
not as
used
interesting
to
people.
from the old city is no longer a thing.
It hasn't been for years. Like, it's actually shocking that there's still functions now. What was the last update on it? Like 5 or 6 years ago?
Oh, it's it's for like ESX 1.1.
Yeah, it's something old. So another thing I'd like to say, Pokebear, sorry for interrupting you at the beginning. I thought you were going to be parroting Frost's 7-point DOA, and I was going to shut that down right the fuck away.
No,
That's
no,
not going to happen.
The 12 IC is really hard to get to.
Can be.
Which
really
is well
not.
for me, I've only ever seen DOA once, and that was when Hamish decided to blow himself up in a helicopter, and that was fucking hilarious. But anytime after that, it's been like a 3 or a high 6, 7. But when the system glitches, it's like a 90 something, and it's, as you said, it's because of a previously old injury, and that's the only time I've ever had.
Maybe I
that high.
can start going through that script and seeing what I can do to make it better.
Yeah, that'd be good. Because when we first brought it in, it's great. But when we started doing testing, we sat around, all of us, including Cue Ball and everybody, were like shooting each other and then checking and then stabbing and punching and then checking. And we were like, this is going to be.
We threw the number 12 against the wall and it stuck. It's really, it really, like most other cities, everything with EMS is just RP. There are no systems. So it's difficult to find the systems. So we did what we could.
What I'm saying is I like that the DOA is 12 because you don't want your character to be DOA 24/7, but to have like a threshold to be able to take someone to the hospital versus just an in-field type of, hey, I passed out because I was starving. It's like, okay, well, here's a banana. Go
Well,
on
hey,
back
we also bought
a really good
a
idea.
while ago that diseases system, but when we tested it, it just made everyone sick at once. So if we can look through that and get that going, that'll give people a reason to go to Pillbox other than wanting to be brought back up, because it's supposed to be like certain scenarios have random chances to like give you a cold, and you can actually spread the cold. Like if you stand too close to someone,
oh man,
now they get the cold, and there's other stuff in there as well that is like random chance to happen, and you
Adds a
have to
little bit
go
more
to Pillbox to get treated.
Yeah, adds a survival element.
Also,
to it,
I
which
wanted
is good.
to ask if it would be possible to put a lock on the doors at the pillbox, because I don't.
One of the things right now, before you go into locking doors on that pillbox, we have the original pillbox that we had when we first started the city, and apparently there have been a lot of errors that have been fixed on that MLO. Everybody I asked in the city this afternoon said they wanted to go back to the basically good pillbox, we'll say, the one with the fish tank in the front. What's the vote on that?
Never
I'm
seen
down
it,
as
so I don't
long
know.
as it doesn't make me absolutely not able to play the game.
You should
Like, so
actually be way
way
better now, by the way.
Yeah.
Give
no,
me
I
a
gotta
yes or
test
no.
it.
Yes or no. Yes to change, no to. I mean, everybody in chat. I mean, you guys
Yes,
obviously.
way
answer,
better.
I'm just
I
saying.
was gonna say yes. Let's run it as a test, for
All right.
sure.
We'll replace it then.
So
Yeah,
a
it's
quick
way
note
better.
on the headaches. I found a tool. There's this guy who makes MLOs he's like well known in the 5M community, Code Walker. He has a tool to fix MLOs, and I ran, I think, 6 or 7 MLOs through this tool today, and I'm not getting errors anymore for those MLOs. So that should drastically help with the headaches.
I'm also
Amazing,
not
yeah.
getting the stutter coming through town. So I used to
Yeah, it
stutter
was-
in Legion Square going both directions, loading Pillbox and loading MRPD and stuff, and I
Yeah,
don't.
minus me being hooked on New World, I was coming in originally in order to do what I normally do, but lately the city's been completely unplayable for me. I would literally get 30-second long headaches, and sometimes a game would just flat crash at the end of it, or I'd just be end up in a ditch or something. I was like, all right, I can't do this. Like I can't drive. Like
You should
it
be
was
good
bad,
now, actually.
so-
It
Yeah,
should be
I
night and
tried-
day for you now.
what was it? I tried a day ago, and it was
God, the day
was really
sticks
not
can't drive, man. It's a sad day.
it's bad.
Can confirm I was chasing him and he ended up behind me 3 times.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are we allowed to
It
have
was
other jobs
bad.
on our EMS?
Like legal jobs?
Legal
Yeah.
jobs, I wouldn't mind, yeah.
Are legal
People
jobs or
you want with
whitelist
your time.
jobs? Like Benny's?
Another whitelist job? Yeah, I have no problem with that.
Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah, and I definitely don't want to see like higher ups of stuff doing illegal stuff. It's so that way they can hold their staff accountable for the illegal stuff.
Oh, they want to talk about drifters. So we've had a lot of people drifting through town, and I'm gonna like put this as shortly as I can. It's illegal. Everybody knows it's illegal. If you're gonna be doing it, cops are gonna come after you. Plain and simple. You know, they're
Yeah,
gonna hit
that's
you
easy.
with that
Yeah.
stuff. That's a really simple one.
RP it out.
Just make sure you drive better than them.
Yep.
You know, if you want to drift, but plenty of places to drift where ain't cops gonna find you. But if you're
Mhm.
drifting in Legion Square, then I mean, you're gonna get chased. You know, and at that point, so what? So
Hello,
now you're in a
this
police
is
chase. Amazing.
Will jail drifters for max time. I did get angry at some drifters in Legion a couple times. And that was because there was multiple people trying to RP and sell things, and you were driving around in circles blaring music. It was very disruptive to other people. I understand and respect that you are trying to build a community. However,
So
your
okay,
community is harassing another community of people, and that's not okay.
yeah, if we can not drive around blaring music really, really loud where it's, completely ridiculous, that'd be great. If you want to like drive by and, it sounds like you've got your system on or something, I don't really have a problem with that, but it shouldn't be so loud that people 30 yards away can't have a conversation.
And also keep in mind the streamers. We do have a lot of
Yes.
streamers in the city.
Yes, and that music is a no go.
Like, for example, unfortunately, the VODs of the funeral the other day are all muted because music being
Yep.
played at the funeral.
Anyone want to buy Burger Shot? He just said higher ups shouldn't be doing crime. I'm more talking about the main government jobs, PD and EMS.
Yeah, I mean, a felon could sell a burger, guys, It's cool.
You're damn right.
All right,
I
let's
personally
see.
don't have a problem with people in whitelist jobs having felonies. I mean, obviously PD that can't be a thing, but
This is
for
all
literally
RP
anything
stuff.
else.
It's
Yeah,
all
it
RP
could all be
stuff.
RP.
Somebody,
You could get it
somebody
expunged by
runs
a
these
judge.
things. Somebody runs
Exactly.
these things. Somebody has to hire you to get that job. I mean, there's heads
It's the
in the
boss's
department. I mean, look, Honeycutt got investigated. You know what I mean? Look how it played out. There you go. GG. Just RP this stuff out. That's it. It's not a staff thing.
So I bringing in the last two. We'll get through these questions, and I think we'll end it there. We will do the. Well, we're gonna have a staff meeting after this, and then any changes that have been made from this, I will post in announcements. But let's see, Big John, you're back in here. All right, what's up?
I just hey, well, hello everyone again. I just wanted to for you guys to kind of touch bases on the sorry to kind of go backwards, but the compounds on compound like war beef kind of stuff.
What do you
Like,
mean?
because, like, for instance, we talked to Dal and Fox, and
Like
they said
16 people raiding a compound.
yeah. I just wanted.
So I did
Like
update
a
that
gang
in the rule
versus gang
book.
thing?
So Big
Yes.
John, if you open up the rules, it's in there. I changed the rules on the compounds.
Okay, I just I know some people have been out of the city. I just wasn't sure if people were aware of this, and I didn't want it to be a whole like ticket spam. Like if someone pulls up to a compound with I don't know their guys, and then you're like, hey, they got more than 4, and it
Right.
is what it is, kind
So
of thing.
he's talking about that compound rule that we changed, Jake.
Yeah, I know.
So it's the rule of 4 doesn't apply to compounds. Both ways.
For the attacker and the defender.
Yeah.
Yes.
Essentially, is what he's saying. So essentially, like if we went to cartel stuff and cartel had all their people and we had all our people, we could all just be shooting it out right there in one big gaggle.
So
fuck.
here's the
Rule of
list
4
of
for the attacking team, just so people know this stuff.
Yeah, so it used to be
the rule of 4 for the attacking team does no longer exist.
But with that being said, the defenders, oh, they came up on my property, I'm defending, it's my property, I'm defending it. That's fine. If you have class 2s, the class 2s will be taken from you because yes, you are
Cops will charge
allowed
you for it.
you are allowed to defend your property, but you can't defend your property with illegal guns. So no more of the, I was defending, the cops go, haha, and then that's it. So the defenders have to be smart about it. Hopefully, the cops didn't see me, I switched to my pistol, whatever. So just keep that in mind with these, the compound fights is the defenders will have some repercussions if they have the class 2s. Yeah, exactly.
Another thing I was also wondering if y'all had because I kind of was out. I know Tony was talking as far as some of the gang stuff, but y'all said y'all were also in talks about the rule of 4 for crims. Is there any change or no change or
There's no change.
still in talks?
We're
There's
still
no
in
change
talks
as of right now.
We were talking about it literally the other night too. I mean, even No Pixel, they just changed theirs, and it was a shit show. So it's a tough thing. We're still talking about it.
All right. Yeah. And mechanics is one of those jobs y'all allow for a gang member like Big John to partake in, or is that frowned upon?
It's an RP thing, man. Talk to the owner.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
only EMS and PD.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Mechanics can tell you to fuck off, or they can hire you. It don't matter.
Basically, if
Okay.
it's a government position, it's a no. If it is a blue collar
Private-owned
job
business.
or private owned, it's chill.
All right. Sounds
Yep,
good.
people can
sounds
hire whoever they want. There is no rule that says Benny's employees can't have a felony. Now, that may be the owner of Benny's rules, but that's on them. So
Yeah.
none of that has anything to do with us.
Yep. And let's see. Was there, I thought there was. So yeah, like I said, if there's anything that changes from this, it'll be an announcement. I am recording this whole thing. It'll be posted. So if any of your friends missed it, they'll be able to watch it.
Rob, try
hunting more
hunting
fun.
people. Try hunting people. It's a way more fun. I promise.
I was gonna say we're hitting our 2-hour mark. Do y'all want to try wrap it up now?
Yeah, we should wrap it up.
I'm done here.
All right, thanks, John.
Thank you.
Frost wants to do a great thing. Yep. And we are going to be talking to him. Oh, you're in here. Yeah. So about changing things to does Rule of 4 only apply to shooters, or can a fifth provide
We've covered
comms,
that
stick
before.
bodies, Instagram?
If
we've
you're
been over
doing
this many
anything
times.
that interacts with the environment that is going on with those groups of 4 people, that person involved is now considered a fifth.
And that includes being on the same radio channel.
But I mean, like the compound thing. That's the only difference.
Yeah, but that is the only time that would be just different.
Yep.
Because we want you guys to feel like, you know, you can roll up as a gang v gang and have that RP, that interaction, right? But if it's just a normal instance or somewhere out in the city, you guys are just, you know, banging, then no, that would be breaking the rule.
Yep. But
You need to be a sufficient group of 4. Period. Everything you do starts and ends with those 4. Period. That's it. If you need a 5th, you suck. End of story.
all right. Does anybody have anything to add?
There was something I was going to say, but I mean, it can wait.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so I just wanted to put out there, you know, a lot of people are doing really good with interacting with EMS. Some of our EMS are not doing as much as they should be, and probably myself included, as far as RP wise. If anyone sees us doing something that they think we can do better, please come to us and tell us how you think we can do it better. You know, I was kind of thrown into EMS with nothing. I don't have any medical background, nothing like that. I did it because I wanted to help the city. So if there's anything that anyone sees that we could do better, please let us know. You know, I mean, I'm open to any suggestions. The whole DOA thing, I meant for it to be 9. It came out at 7, but that was because a lot of us had talked that people needed to be DOA'd more. That they wanted to see more DOAs. You know, a few other things on that list, probably too complex to even wish for. But I mean, I'm trying to get EMS into a position to where it's more serious and not people just standing around in front of pillbox blowing up cars with RPGs all the time. You know, it's one thing when we're just screwing around like earlier or whatever, but if there's like 30, 40 people on the server, doing crap like that is detrimental in my opinion.
I agree.
And just like he said, I mean, if y'all see something for EMS or mechanics, anything, y'all can always feel free to contact one of us, open up a ticket, put a suggestion in, let us know. I mean, we're only maybe a little bit over 10 people in staff. We can only see so much, so anything is helpful.
I'll say the same for cops. Never mind, I don't have to.
Oh yeah, you're gonna hear that one.
Before we ended, I wanted to call out 3 specific people and give them a shout out just for how much more they've improved in the city. When I first joined, I won't like stray away from it. I avoided these people. I'm sure they know and they're aware. Didn't have the greatest interactions with them, but now I want to keep interacting with them, especially as Smithson, Jordan Blanco. These are going to kind of go off of me, but the Bloods lately have been incredible for RP. The slash me stuff, just the interactions that I'm having with them, period, have been so much more enjoyable. I don't want to just throw them into jail as soon as I get them cuffed. So I really wanted to just call the Bloods out and a lot of their members right now as motivating a lot of people in the city to do better.
Agreed. There have been times I've been just like kind of spectating, see what's going on in the city, and I get to Jordan and he's saying something outrageous and it immediately makes me laugh, and then I'm just stuck watching him because he's just so funny.
Yeah, I think all of us have seen the clip for when the gang war started between Loco and Big John, and I look back on that clip, and when I see Loco start shooting Big John, and above Jordan's head goes, reaches behind back, and he comes out with a knife. I die laughing every single time I see that clip because it's so damn funny to me.
I love it. Yeah, good shit. Keep it up, everybody. Welcome.
What makes good content?
Welcome, Shepard. Welcome, Cyclops. And I
We love you all.
appreciate everybody coming. I hope we answered a lot of the questions. And any changes from this, I will post in announcements. And I'll see you guys on the next one.
Appreciate y'all. Go have some good RP.